question of, I think now I'm at a point where my mind isn't really thinking about models. And the question of what model you're using is kind of irrelevant. It's not totally irrelevant. And the reason why it's not totally irrelevant is for the reasons that you talked about. There are very specific cases where an open model is going to be your only choice, and many cases where it might be preferable either licensing or privacy wise or whatever. So if you're working in an air gapped environment or something like that, you need an open model. In certain industries, you'll need an open model. For certain latency or kind of large scale processing cases, you'll want an open model because it's going to be way, way, way cheaper, right? So there are these cases where the open model like clearly wins, but ultimately I think the model is now a complete commodity, right? And so this is, to me, it's like, you know, you look at another commodity, like I'm in the Midwest, we have a lot of soy around us, right? Okay, what do like the average person, what does it matter in their dish at a restaurant that includes some sort of tofu or soy or whatever, or let's say another commodity, corn? They don't care whether they got the premium corn or the mid-level corn or whatever. For the most part, they care how the dish was prepared, which involves a whole system of things that has led to the presentation of a great tasting dish for them, which had way more to do with a bunch more things than the commodity itself. And I think that that's the situation we're in. The model, although it is a necessary piece of the puzzle, it feels like such a small piece of the puzzle at this point. And this is what I kind of keep coming back to on the mythos thing, the Anthropic thing. It's like the cybersecurity world is up in arms about mythos, and I think they should be to some degree because it's powerful. It's going to discover all these vulnerabilities. It's going to totally disturb how we need to do cybersecurity. And I think my response would be, well, whether mythos is released or not, there's more than enough AI and agentic harness capability out there to already totally disrupt and transform how you need to do cybersecurity. Like we're already there. And it doesn't have it may have a small bit to do with the model, but I think it has more to do with how people are plugging these models into agentic systems, how those are operated, and the transformational capability of those systems, which, you know, whether it's an open or closed model, is going to be transformative, even if another model is never released.
You know, a good illustration, I think, of that fact that's happening right now is that even if you do look at these big, marquee names in the closed source model world that we all follow, they are, yes, Mythos came out recently and things like, well, it's not out, but Mythos is there, and there is a certain amount of news about that. But the place where they're really focusing, and the place where, if you're following AI news, you're seeing that, is how people are imagining new implementations that address business needs with these models. So, the fact that, I just talked about Claude Design a second ago, and it's not that they need a whole new model just for that. It's that they're taking existing models and building the infrastructure and workflows around those so that you can productively use those models for the thing that you need. Going back to your point, it kind of points to that commoditization that you're talking about, when you recognize that the value is whatever model you're talking about, whether it's a big frontier model or much smaller model for a specific purpose. There are those to work from that are out there, and those that are continually developed. But the value that people are focusing on in 2026 that I'm observing is in developing the infrastructure and workflow to make that so that instead of it being just a chatbot, it's now 100 different products and services that they can leverage. And I think that's where I think the smart thinking is right now in terms of what can we do with what we have.